See, consciousness has no source. Rather, consciousness is the source of everything. So, everything that you see around yourself, around me right now, everything is energy. Everything is consciousness. Everything. You, me, the flowers, the trees, mountains, everything is energy. And consciousness is that purest form of energy. And you all know the law of thermodynamics, that energy can neither be created nor it can be destroyed. It can only be transformed in a different state to different state. That's it. So everything that you see all around you and me is all energy, is all consciousness vibrating at different frequencies. All this, everything, it all comes from consciousness. Everything manifests out of consciousness. But consciousness doesn't come from anything. Everything comes from consciousness, but consciousness doesn't come from anything. Because consciousness is eternal. It is beyond the time and space continuum. Consciousness is the source of all. And consciousness is that stuff, is that fabric of which this whole universe is composed of, is made of. But there is no source of consciousness itself. Consciousness is the source. And consciousness has always been here. It's here, it was here, it's here, and it will always be here. In a different shape and form. Though it can be in a sleeping state, it can be in a waking state. The states can change, but consciousness is the source of everything. When the consciousness is in the sleeping state, you are blind. You're operating from the unconsciousness. When the consciousness is on the awakening state, you are awakened. You are enlightened. You are Buddha in that moment. Consciousness is the very foundation of this whole universe. There is nothing beyond consciousness. Consciousness is the beyond. And see, the question that you have asked is an existential question. It's not an intellectual question. If it was an intellectual question, it can be answered in an intellectual way. It can be answered through intellect. But the question that you have asked is an existential question. And it can only be answered if you come close, if you merge, if you be one with the same existence. And to be with existence, to align yourself with the existence, the only way is to enter in meditation. And today, right now, I want to share a very strange but a very beautiful fact about you. See, you, the human being, is the only creature on this planet in which the unconsciousness has allowed a little spark of consciousness to arise, to awake. There is everything around you, everything, even the trees, mountains, plants, everything, stone, everything has consciousness. But the thing is this, their state of consciousness is in a sleeping mode. But only in you, only in the human beings, the unconsciousness has a power. The unconsciousness gives a little window. The unconsciousness has a little window from which the consciousness, the awareness can come in. That's the beauty of a human being. That human being is vibrating on a very high possibility, high potentiality. Now, this small window in this darkness, in this dark room, is enough. This little piece of consciousness is enough to illuminate your whole being, to illuminate the whole darkness of the room. You just have to open those windows and let the sunlight, let the infinite, let the godliness to come in your being. Right now, there is only a little consciousness in you. And most of you is still in ignorance and darkness in an unconscious state. But if you work on your consciousness, which there is a possibility, because I'm telling you, as a human being, there is a little window of this consciousness waiting for you to open it up. And all these meditations, all these yogic practices are just there, trying to help you to open that window of consciousness so the godliness can come in. And in that moment when this window gets opened, the whole room gets illuminated. The whole being of you gets enlightened. Then you will transform into a pure consciousness. That's what yogis call as Sachidananda, truth, bliss and consciousness. In that very moment when you just open the windows of consciousness, your whole being will be illuminated in a truth, bliss and consciousness. See, once it happened while doing the background check of a suspect, the police officer find a lot of criminal activities done by this suspect. So he told the suspect that, Mr. I can see a lot of criminal history. So he told the suspect that, Mr. You have a history of previous criminal records. You have one burglary, you have a bank robbery, you have a assault, you have a case of molestation, you have a rape case, so many. On hearing this, the suspect replied, Yes, sir, it's right. It took a lot of time for me to find out what I do the best. See, even this criminal has a little bit of consciousness. Isn't it so? But he doesn't allow his consciousness to grow. Rather, he's allowing his unconsciousness to use the consciousness. He's allowing his unconsciousness to use the consciousness to involve in more criminal activities. Now, in him, the unconsciousness is the CEO, is the boss. And the consciousness is like a worker, is like a servant. And here everything goes wrong. And here everything went wrong with him. He ended up in the jail. Because he is allowing his unconsciousness to rule over the consciousness. That is what I call as misalignment. Every disease, every sickness, every crime in the world is just because of this misalignment. When you're allowing your unconsciousness to dictate your consciousness, when you're allowing your unconsciousness to be bossy around your consciousness, then everything goes wrong. Rather, your unconsciousness should work as a servant, should work as an employee to your consciousness. You should operate, you should act through the consciousness, not through unconsciousness. Slowly, slowly let the consciousness grow. With the help of meditation, with the help of yoga, slowly, slowly let the consciousness to rise. Slowly, slowly, with the help of yoga, with the help of meditation, help the consciousness to rise. So it's all about consciousness. Are you helping your consciousness to grow, to raise? That is the importance. That is what is important. Consciousness can exist in different forms, different stages, but it's all consciousness. Even the criminal has the consciousness. Even the Buddha has the consciousness. Even the tree has the consciousness. Even you are made of the consciousness. It all depends how powerful your consciousness is, how awakened your consciousness is. That makes the difference. So asking a question that what is the source of consciousness? Consciousness is the source of everything. And I invite you all to dive in meditation and let your consciousness to rise. Because in the moment when you will just be a pure consciousness, all these existential questions will disappear. And your being will filled with all the knowing, all the answers.